You cannot tighten your physical body to protect and think that it will work optimally. It can't. It will not work. It will not function.
I want to go to the topic of early childhood trauma that we experience, and somehow it stays in our body.
Okay.
And somehow this setup, which we are not conscious of until many years later, and here we are at age 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 100, and still feeling like something is running the show from that many years ago. So can you talk about how these traumatic experiences, many people may be familiar with the ACEs study, the adverse childhood experiences, which set the stage, increase the risk factor for developing autoimmunity later in life. But talk to us about how and why does trauma get stored in the body? And then we'll go from there.
Okay. So I normally say your biography shapes your biology, and your biography, this is exactly what you're talking about, which is our story and our history. And it's not only in terms of genetic, but epigenetics. We have two lines of things that happen to us in our body. And one of them I'm just going to mention here is we also mimic things of our parents' body. When we are little, in order to communicate, very few people talk about, normally we talk a lot about, this happened to me, therefore I did this and this and this. Or I suffer in this way and I react in this and this. And this is true. And that's I'm going to explore more because it's more in our hands, even though both of them is the same way of healing. But we also have certain mimics of constriction. And constriction here, for people who would not know what you're talking about, is how you organize your body, how you tighten and tense your body, how you certain muscles, fascia, bones go to a particular way that many times people, oh, it's my genetics. But in fact, it's not. It's just that you are mimicking your parents or your mother or your father since day one. You're mimicking because you see how they do and you want to participate in that tribe. You want to be part, you want to belong to that tribe. All of this in the baby's mind is not saying consciously, is perceiving because the baby has to understand, but it can feel that he or she can feel everything. So it begins to transform also in that particular way. So if a family, for example, is very mental, the baby will become very mental because that's how this family operates. It's not necessarily something happens. So this is one part that we also work because it's necessary, because it's come also from our ancestors, right? So then the other part that I talk more deeply, because many times there are more facets to understand, is this happened to me. And because this happened to me, I will defend and protect myself in a particular way. Even if I'm 1 year old, 2 year old, 1 day old, 3, 5, whatever age, normally until 7, you have already a particular body organization, a particular defense and protection in place. And from that point on, whatever happened that is similar, you go into layers of protection and defense in the body. And then you tighten areas that creates fragmentation. So I'm going to give the example of my autoimmune disease because I think it's a great, very down to earth example. What are you talking about? So I was just practicing being very present in my body, and very present is not aware. Aware is I am here noticing my body. So my mind is noticing my feet, my hands, noticing the body. Presence is when your mind goes and your mind is here. Your mind is deeply in your feet. It's almost like saying, My feet are aware of themselves. That is presence. That sounds difficult, but it's not. Very, in fact, very easy to start and be present. I would love to guide in the very end. If you're hearing this podcast now, watching the video, wait because I'm going to guide into a 5 minute inner connection. So it helps you to feel a little bit more present, which is always a gift. It's really a present to ourselves.
Beautiful.
So I was just being more present in my body. And I noticed in this area here, a very hard, and it had even showed me a kind of a vision of a square, like stainless steel. I would say it was the hardness. I said, what is this texture so hard in my body? And I penetrate my mind there. And as I penetrate, immediately the whole memory of this area was open and shown to me. And I saw myself as a baby, as a 6 month old baby who was fighting with my mother not to change my diaper. And she wanted to change my diaper. A very good thing. She's not hurting, beating me. This is very important to understand because people think that trauma is only someone is beating me up. No one was beating me up. My mother was not trying to leave her with poop in her pants, in her diapers and abandon her. No, she was being a good mother trying to change my diaper that was full of poop. I have to say that because that component is important. And I tightened so much and I was fighting with her. And as a baby, I realized I didn't have enough strength to be to win that game. I wanted to be stronger than her, and I felt the sense of powerlessness, physical weakness. And if you
Mhm.
go to myasthenia, me is muscle, asthenia is lack of force of muscles, a very rare disease that represents exactly what the 6 month old baby thought about herself. So I tightened the anus. I didn't want to poop, but I was still pooping. And it was winter in Brazil. And she used to say years later that I used to dirt all my clothes. She needed to change everything and wash everything. So you remember the stories. And then I said, that was the seed of the myasthenia gravis. And I'm not going to all the details here, but that was the seed that stayed there. When my baby was born, baby Roberta was triggered. So baby here triggered my baby mind and physical reaction. And then I become quite weak. And it was like so this type of conditioning and things, it's not conscious, but the body is, the memories in the body, as the book says, the body keeps the score, the body keeps the burden. So the body is saving all the protection because at that moment, what did I do? Why this came when I was here? I was trying not to, poop. And then I tried to close the anus itself and I closed all the muscles like this. Everything here was super tight. And that's why it was like stainless steel right here. And it was even painful to release because for decades I was trying to this and I had the constipation my whole childhood and I understood no one in the family had same food, but I had. So it can be anything, does not need to be beaten up, does not need to be, I have trauma from even just because like being a very beautiful baby and just because people are looking too much, the baby feels scared and went retrieved deep
Mhm.
inside of the head and didn't want to come out because afraid of people. This is a client of mine. So there are many reasons why something can be so overwhelming outside that it's too strong and too intense or too repetitive. In the case of the diaper, was a repetitive thing, and it caused me to be scary about that because my mother was upset. But she was not upset with me, but she was upset with the situation. But for me, she was rejecting something I was doing that was for me natural. As a baby doesn't have any conscious, thought about that, but the unconscious, subconscious mind going to survival mode and know, okay, my life is in risk here. I need to protect. I need to stop doing whatever I'm doing because it's not well received. Boom, tighten this. And now I'm going to protect my life like this forever until the day I realize by being present, I'm tightening like this. It's time to soften. It's time to open. So I hope it's very down to earth to help people understand the body is just going to a particular survival mode mechanism because sometimes maybe I was already too sensitive. I'm quite sensitive of everything that is going around. So that suddenly in one person of the family reacts in a particular way, another child reacts in a different way because we are different and our levels of sensitivity, our levels, how the mind of the baby or the child perceives that. And later on in life, we will have other episodes of things that will, make that stronger and stronger. Almost like the universe again saying, hey, release this, but we don't. So I go, tighten even more. And that can cause disease. It can cause, autoimmune disease. It definitely cause physical issues because you cannot tighten your physical body to protect and think that it will work optimally. It can't. It will not work. It will not function in the same way if you didn't tighten all the tissues. This is not a mental. It's not emotional only. It's very physical that we protect ourselves by tightening the tissues in order to change something. If it's too much sound, I might tighten my ears. I might tighten my jaw hinge. So someone is screaming in the house. I might tighten very strongly that because I'm scared. If I'm scared, I'm going to tighten my chest because fear creates a tightening here and the tip of the stomach. And I don't want to feel this fear as a child. So I tighten here next to the armpit. I tighten in this way from the front to the back, but I also tighten to the sides to avoid feeling the emotion. So then we do not know, we cannot breathe deeply and we do not know why. And sometimes people go for breathing classes, but deep inside the tissues are still holding that protection. But no one is screaming anymore, but we're still holding that. So that's why we go deeper. I like to go toward the root cause, really go deeper into the tissues, bring the mind there because there is the physical reaction, that is the emotional level, and there's a level that very few people talk about, which is the mental level. The mind of the child who tighten in the very first place that particular area of the body. And that's what I see mostly when I'm working with people. I look and it shows the knots, and sometimes you open a knot, it shows something even more deeply that is there that needs to open.